Oliver had always lived a quiet, predictable life in his small Vermont town. Every morning he would wake up, go to his job at the local diner, serve the same customers, and return home feeling a strange emptiness. Friends and family would tell him to be practical, to stay in his comfort zone, and not chase impossible dreams. But deep down, Oliver felt a yearning he couldn't explain. He wanted more than the repetitive routine and the predictable path. Every evening, he would look at the mountains in the distance and imagine himself somewhere different, somewhere he could breathe freely and express himself without fear. Yet the voices in his head constantly reminded him that he was just ordinary, that he wasn't capable of doing anything remarkable. His life felt like a cage built from invisible bars of doubt and fear, and although he longed to break free, he didn't know how. Each day seemed the same as the last, and the thought of pursuing his dreams seemed far too risky. Height couldn't see yet that inside him was the potential to soar above any limitations, to rise like an eagle despite the fear that held him grounded. One crisp autumn morning, Oliver decided to take a walk through the mountains near his town. The air was fresh, the leaves painted in vibrant shades of red and gold, and the quiet beauty of nature gave him a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. As he reached a clearing, his eyes caught sight of a majestic eagle gliding effortlessly in the sky, its wings wide and powerful, moving with grace and confidence. Oliver paused, captivated by its freedom and strength, and for the first time, he felt a spark of inspiration deep within his heart. He realized that while he had been living like a chicken, constrained by fear and doubt, the eagle represented what he could become: bold, free, and capable of soaring above obstacles. The sight lingered in his mind, planting the seed of courage that would soon grow into action. That evening, he began reflecting on his life, recognizing the patterns of self-doubt and hesitation that had kept him grounded. He understood that the path to transformation required embracing risk, stepping out of comfort, and believing in his hidden potential, just as the eagle trusted the wind beneath its wings. A few weeks later, an opportunity arose that challenged Oliver's courage directly. A local community center was hosting a small entrepreneurial showcase, and he had a concept for a community cafe he had been quietly nurturing in his mind. Fear gnawed at him, threatening to make him withdraw, as doubts about his skills, his age, and his lack of experience flooded his thoughts. He remembered the eagle soaring fearlessly and drew strength from that vision. Despite trembling hands and a racing heart, he prepared his pitch, focusing on the value his cafe could bring to the community: a welcoming space, local products, and a place to inspire young dreamers. On the day of the showcase, he stood before skeptical faces, feeling exposed and vulnerable. Every word felt heavy, but he persisted, speaking from his heart and passion rather than fear. By the end of his presentation, the room erupted in applause. Some investors offered support not only because of his idea, but because of his courage to stand and share his vision. That moment became Oliver's first flight toward independence and confidence, proving that even the smallest acts of bravery could begin the journey of soaring above limitations. Oliver's Cafe opened with excitement and anticipation, but the journey was far from smooth. The first months brought a mix of success and challenges. He faced supply issues, staffing shortages, and occasional customer complaints that shook his confidence. Doubts resurfaced, and sometimes he wondered if he had made a mistake. However, he refused to give up. Seeking guidance, Oliver connected with Mr. Thompson, a retired entrepreneur who had built a successful chain of cafes decades earlier. He became his mentor, sharing not only business strategies but lessons about perseverance, resilience, and believing in one's vision. Under his guidance, Oliver learned to navigate setbacks, innovate creatively, and focus on long-term goals rather than immediate obstacles. Slowly, the cafe began to gain a loyal following, and Oliver realized that success was not about avoiding problems but learning to rise above them. Each challenge became a chance to improve and grow, much like the eagle that strengthens its wings by facing strong winds. Oliver's confidence increased with each small victory, and he began to see himself not as a timid individual trapped in routine, but as someone capable of shaping his destiny and inspiring others along the way. One stormy night, disaster struck. Heavy rain and wind battered the town, and Oliver awoke to the news that his cafe had suffered significant damage. Windows shattered, supplies ruined, and repairs were estimated to cost far more than he could afford. For a moment, despair overwhelmed him. The fear of failure and loss threatened to undo everything he had worked for. Yet, amidst the darkness, he remembered the eagle gliding through storms, trusting the strength of its wings to carry it forward. Drawing on that courage, Oliver reached out to his community for help. Customers, neighbors, and local businesses came together to support him, donating materials, labor, and encouragement. Through collective effort and his own perseverance, the cafe was restored and even improved with creative upgrades. Oliver realized that storms, whether literal or metaphorical, were opportunities to discover inner strength, resilience, and the power of connection. He understood that challenges were not the end of the journey, but a vital part of learning to soar higher, embracing life fully despite fear and uncertainty. As time passed, Oliver's Cafe became a hub of inspiration. He implemented creative programs. Local artists displayed work, writers held workshops, and community events brought people together. With each initiative, Oliver discovered untapped potential within himself and his town. The cafe thrived not just as a business, but as a space for empowerment, creativity, and growth. Oliver's confidence grew as he embraced challenges and celebrated successes, both small and large. He realized that limitations existed primarily in his mind, and once he broke free of those self-imposed barriers, he could soar to heights previously unimaginable. His story began to influence others, encouraging young dreamers to pursue ambitions they had once deemed impossible. Oliver's journey became a living testament to the transformative power of courage, perseverance, and vision, proving that when one believes in their abilities, they can rise above circumstances and achieve greatness. Oliver began to experience a sense of freedom and fulfillment he had never known. His cafe flourished, his relationships deepened, and his influence extended beyond his town. He started mentoring aspiring entrepreneurs, sharing lessons from his own journey, and inspiring them to chase their dreams fearlessly. Oliver reflected on how far he had come from the timid chicken hen trapped in routine to the confident eagle soaring high. He understood that true success was not measured solely by achievements, but by the courage to embrace growth, face fear, and help others rise alongside him. Every act of bravery, no matter how small, contributed to a life of purpose, meaning, and joy. His story became a reminder that the potential to soar resides within everyone, waiting to be unleashed through belief, determination, and resilience. Oliver sat quietly in his cafe one evening, watching the sunset cast golden light across the town. He remembered the journey from doubt to confidence, from fear to courage, and from limitation to freedom. He realized that the eagle he had admired was never truly separate from him. It had always been inside, waiting for him to trust himself and take flight. Oliver smiled, knowing that life's storms, challenges, and obstacles were not meant to hold him back, but to teach him how to soar. His journey had transformed him into someone capable of not only achieving his dreams, but inspiring others to discover their own wings. He understood that everyone has an inner eagle ready to rise above fear, limitations, and doubt. The world was full of possibilities, and Oliver was ready to embrace them all, soaring higher than he had ever imagined.